The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. I'm high up on a hill overlooking a giant state-of-the-art deer breeding facility in Poverty Canyon. We're out here in West Texas, folks. It is a remote part of West Texas, but that's one of the most impressive deer breeding facilities I've ever seen. This is Poverty Canyon Whitetails. I guess it's been about 10 years since I've been coming out here. This is some arid country. It's beautiful in its own way. Summertime, it's really, really hot. And this facility, I mean, when you get up high above it and you look down, you can really see how sprawling it is. It's giant.
I'm Lisa Sheffield-Rowe, and I'm with Poverty Canyon Whitetails in Tennyson, Texas. The owner of the ranch is Danny Knox, and he just recently purchased the ranch and is committed to being a deer farmer. There is just a lot of work to be done. The work that needs to be done out here is not on the deer. Our pedigrees are awesome. We've got an amazing deer herd. I'm fortunate to have inherited it. But the pens need work. We've been taking fences down. We've been clearing things out. We have been adding alleys and lanes around and just moving things around a little bit. It's a lot of manpower. This is a very dry area out here in West Texas, and with the pens being overgrown the way that they are, it's not good because number one, you can have fire, and number two, you need to be able to see your deer every day and be able to get in there and have them used to you, not just where you can't see them at all.
Lisa's got her hands full, and what I mean by that, this is a big operation. When you take a look at it, I really don't know how many pens they have, but they got a pile of them, and most of them are in serious need of some TLC. I mean, they're overgrown, the fence needs to be taken care of. I mean, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done, but the one thing that they have out here that really no work needs to be done on at all is the deer. The deer are top notch. Every successful deer farm winds up, they build it off of a foundation of a bloodline. And the foundation bloodline that they have here has never changed since 12 years ago. That foundation is strong, it's reputable, it's dependable, it's predictable, and it's valuable. I'm hard pressed to come up with a deer farm that we've been to that has deer more crowded than this. And it's just because of the pen design. They have enough square footage in there for the number of deer, but it's the shape of the pens that I think is causing the problem. This is the only deer and wildlife story show that we've ever done where we have not been able to actually enter the pen with the deer. What we wound up doing on this time, we had to get up high above the pen, up on top of the buggy, and shoot down on them. The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy. It's undeniable there's a lot of work left to do here, but it's also undeniable that the genetics as well as, the foundation deer are here, and they've got a great future. Okay, well, I can look at them. They're all pretty young. They're all yearlings, right?
Yes.
I was going to say, and I mean, they're nice yearlings. Is there anything special in there, at least blood-wise?
We used quite a good bit of semen last year.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of inherited it, so I've been going through everything, and I'm very proud of what we have right now.
Well, so far, I'm pretty impressed with what you have. I mean, I look at, we're going to show these other deer in this pen here and this pen here in just a second. But folks, I want to tell you something. I've been out here at this ranch many times, and starting years ago, back before these pens were actually built. And I'm looking at these pens and going, this is not your typical, the typical condition that a deer pen is in. Okay,
no.
I mean, it just isn't. Okay, and the reason why is because the last owner of the piece of property, well, he gave it up, and so this was a world-class facility. It really was, and when it wasn't taken care of, and all the spring rains and early summer rains that were out here into the San Angelo area, all this new growth, and all of a sudden I'm looking at these guys out here, and I can also tell by their demeanor that there hadn't been a lot of people around them too.
Correct.
I mean, and the reason why is you can look at the deer, and when deer are around people, they get kind of calmed down. And these deer, I mean, they're all bunched up together. They're kind of skittish, and so they're not real calm. And so as you're here with a new staff and all, you're going to be spending much more time in the pens,
yes,
getting them all cleaned up, and so they're going to be much more acclimated to human activity, and so they're going to become calmer and calmer. And we know as whitetail breeders that the less stress, the better the deer are going to do. Now, this pen right here, who are these guys in here?
Those are yearlings as well.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an older buck in there with them. And before I came here, they had this thing called a Big Brother program. And it's an older buck with the younger bucks, and it's supposed to calm them down and keep them gentle and stuff. But there's just not been hardly anybody in these pens on a consistent basis to keep everybody calm.
I've never heard it called Big Brother program, but that's really a good description, because typically what happens, folks, is deer are very social animals, and what's going to happen, you're going to have one dominate the other ones. I mean, there's going to be a dominant one in this pen of yearlings, this pen right here. So a lot of times they will put a Big Brother in there because he's bigger, he's stronger, and he's going to kind of keep everybody else in line.
Yeah.
What happens in every deer pen, typically there's a dominant animal, and by putting a mature, an older deer than the other deer, I think that's a good policy. I do it at my place. So this pen right here, tell me about these guys. They couldn't be yearlings.
No, those are our 2-year-olds, and then we've got a 3-year-old in there.
And again, I guess that's the Big Brother deal too?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. I mean, just a 1-year age difference really makes a difference as far as body sizing goes. And really, if you compare like this pen right here, the 4-year-old to the 1-year-olds, I mean, he's much bigger, but you can see a difference between the 2 and the 3-year-old there. But I look at your 2-year-olds and I'm thinking, genetically, I know those deer are really, really good deer.
Yeah.
I mean, and so although this is new to you, as far as new here, I mean, you've been in the deer business forever, but this is new to you, and I know you're trying to go through and see what do you have.
Yeah.
And folks on the program, I'm gonna try to sit down with Lisa and try to give her my input. Everybody's got an opinion. I want to give her my input, but right off the top of my head, I can say the thing. First off, you've got great deer. I mean, I take a look at these guys, and I'm picking out some exceptional 2-year-olds in here, and I think genetically you really do have a good foundation, but there's a whole lot of physical man labor that's got to be put down to get these pens in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, to see their antlers, it makes me smile, and that's what makes me happy when I come out here, because everything else is work
Yeah.
that needs to be done.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to address something other than just man work in these pens, because there's going to be some computer work that needs to be done
Yes,
too.
sir.
So let's go show me some more deer.
Okay. I'm Lisa Sheffield-Rowe, and this is Church, and you're watching Deer and Wildlife Stories with Keith Warren.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. All right, these guys are what, 2?
Yes.
Boy, there's some nice looking deer in there. I mean, nice framing. I mean, they've got great genetics, don't they?
Yes, and every one of our deer out here are DNA'd.
Okay, so they're all in the registry. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if somebody wants to buy a deer from you, they just, pick out a deer, go on the registry and see exactly who it's out of.
Absolutely.
And every deer on the whole place?
Yes.
Okay, well that's cool, because that way if somebody knows they're getting what they're paying for. But
Absolutely.
is there, out of these deer, I mean, these are exceptional 2-year-olds. They really, really are nice. Is there one common sire? Is there something unusual about them?
Well, I've got a few of them in this pen that are out of Tex Roller. That's one right there.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, Tex Roller is, folks, Tex Roller, just so you know, he's a franchise deer for this deer farm right here.
Well, he is our foundation, like you were saying, he's our foundation sire, and he's actually right over here in this pen.
He's still alive?
He is.
Holy smokes, how old is he?
He's 12. And
That's gotta be him?
Yeah, he's
oh my gosh, and he's 12 years old?
You can see his age a little, but he's, still getting around.
Look at him.
And we use him in the Big Brother program as well. He's with some yearlings.
If that deer right there is a phenomenal success story. And what I mean by that, at 12 years old, first off, white-tailed deer virtually don't live to 12 years old, and especially a breeder buck. That's phenomenal. But look at him, he doesn't have any ears. Tex Roller, between the time he was 3 years old and 4 years old, dogs got in the pen.
Yes.
And they almost killed him. I mean, they literally almost killed him. And look at him. I mean, he is so old, but that's so cool. First off, he beat all the odds of living after dogs attacked him. And I mean, with no ears, and he's not real pretty, but genetically, he's getting it done. I mean, look at these guys over here.
He's a producer for sure.
And now you see how come he really is the franchise deer right here on this farm. That's so cool to see him.
And Keith, right here we have another group of 2-year-olds with a much older buck, and he's 6.
Okay, so he's an old deer. He's a mature deer. So you can take a look at the difference in size between the age classes there. And again, that's the big brother.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
so that's the man in there, and he's going to take care of it. He's going to make sure everybody behaves themselves. But where are these deer going to wind up going?
These are a pen of basically my production bucks, and we sell them as stalkers.
Okay, and what that means, folks, is that these deer right here, they're great genetics. It's just they're not as big as, say, what Tex Roller used to be, or what some of these other deer are that they'll use for a backup breeder buck. They're big, and what they'll do is they'll enhance the genetic makeup on your piece of property. Okay, so y'all have a website?
Yes, we do.
Give them a website address.
It's povertycanyonranch.com.
And we'll have a direct link right off our website to her website. The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy. Anybody in the deer farming industry has heard of this deer. He is a legend. His name is Tex Roller. Giant, but he didn't start out that way. This is the way he started out. This was one side of his yearling rack. Not very impressive. But in order to grow big deer, it takes 3 things: age, nutrition, and genetics. And really, when it all comes down to it, genetics are the hardest thing in order to give a deer. We can give them the right nutrition real easily by pouring it out of a sack. But when you give them the right age and you give them the right nutrition and they have the right genetics, look what they grow into. This was Tex Roller at 6. And you can see why he's a legend, because literally he was giant and he threw giant offspring. In the deer farming industry, what we try to do, there's a lot of people that are searching for that next superstar, that next deer that's going to be a franchise deer at somebody's farm. But the secret is a lot of guys are going back to the old foundation deer, the deer that got it done years ago and are getting it done today. And although Tex Roller may not look like much when he's in the pen, genetically, he's still getting it done today. It's so hot the fire ants won't come out. But I'm taking a look at these deer right here, and these are some giant deer. How old are they?
Those are 3-year-olds.
Holy smokes.
And there's an older one in there as well.
I mean, I'm looking at them. There's not a slouch in the bunch. Look at that. Look at the tine length. Look at that guy right there.
Yeah, he is 042, and he's, I've had quite a bit of interest in him.
So who are these guys out of anyway?
Everybody in this pen is out of Top Gun, and one, the older guy, he's out of Maxbow.
Really?
These guys are out of our powerhouse stoves.
All right, so who are these guys right here?
Those are yearlings, and then that wide guy right there is a 3-year-old.
I'll tell you right now, these purple tags, that's got to represent something special, because by and large, across the board, these purple tag yearlings are better as a group than any other yearlings I've seen. What's the deal on that?
Those guys are my yardstick yearlings.
That is great right there. I mean, yardstick has gotten it done for you.
Yeah. And the blue tags are out of Miho, even that big, the older one, and he was born here.
All right, one more pin. Tell me who these guys are right here.
Those guys are all 3 Tex Roller sons. And,
Really?
They're older guys. One of them is clear title 943, and
He was born here?
Yeah,
right?
They all were. All yeah.
Okay. These guys are real pretty, and the age of them again is what?
They're 6.
They're 6, so they are mature.
And we've got, we've got plenty of offspring out of them.
Those are some really nice looking deer. All right, so if somebody wants more information on purchasing deer, leasing deer, like that one right there, or just coming out on a farm tour, all right, and seeing your operation, give them a website again.
It is povertycanyonranch.com.
The country out here in West Texas, well, it's tough. It's tough to make a living. But the whitetails, well, they're doing just fine here at Poverty Canyon Whitetails. And yep, there's a lot of work to do, but they're getting it done because they're committed to not only the whitetail deer, but to the customers that they serve. If you have any more questions or comments about the program, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me an email and I will get back with you. I'm Keith Warren, and thanks for watching Deer and Wildlife Stories. What you're about to see is graphic in nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Last August, many of Texas's deer farmers were forced to kill hundreds of perfectly healthy deer in order to test them for chronic wasting disease. To date, approximately 600 deer have been killed, and the killing isn't over. What's worse is that out of all the deer that were killed, not a single one of them tested positive for chronic wasting disease. I don't know about you, but to me there's just something wrong with the picture when you start killing perfectly healthy deer to test them to make sure they're not sick with chronic wasting disease. Now, CWD has been around for over 50 years, and I'm a believer that CWD, it needs to be managed from science-based management rather than from a political agenda. And I think that we ought to learn from states that have been battling CWD for more than 50 years, and they themselves say that there's nothing they can do to manage it. What they need to do is just monitor it. So again, I think that we ought to base our CWD stuff all on science and not on a political agenda. If you'd like to find out more about chronic wasting disease, let me encourage you to go to the website cwdmyths.com.